If you're a young adult living in Pakistan, chances are you've thought about becoming a civil servant at least once in your life. The civil service of Pakistan offers amazing career opportunity. It not only is a great way to serve your country and your nation, it is also a way to open avenues for personal and professional development. However, the civil service exams is the key hurdle that all students must clear before they can achieve their dream career. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people sit these exams, but less than 3% manage to clear them. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Paradigm Shift Interview Series. I'm your host, Fahad Sayed, and in this episode, we will discuss why is the civil service exam so hard to clear and what you can do to increase your chances of success. Joining me today is Professor Ali Shahab, a renowned educationist who has been teaching English for competitive exams for well over a decade and has mentored and coached many civil servants that are serving Pakistan today. Please welcome Professor Ali Shahab. Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you? Thank you so much for sparing time for us today.
Walaikum assalam. Well, thank you very much.
I know you have a very busy schedule, so I do appreciate you creating a time for us, especially with the CSS exams around the corner. So I want to begin the discussion by first going back, like if there's a student who's thinking about becoming a civil service officer, who's thinking about giving the civil service exams, how should they go about, what are the things that they should think about, and how should they go about preparing for these exams?
Okay, there are a few requirements before you prepare for the CS exams. Number one, it is a serious exam. So you just can't attempt it by just having an idea in your mind by just influenced by some other person or other aspirant. It is a serious exam. And just like other exams, it has a prescribed syllabus. So I would recommend all the students to first go through the syllabus and see how much effort they require to complete the syllabus. So without the syllabus, obviously no exam is possible. So they must have know-how regarding the syllabus, and then comes the choice of the optional exams. So the syllabus is divided into two halves. The first ones are the compulsory subjects, and the next ones are the optional subjects. So it depends upon the student in what area he has done his majors. So he must choose the subjects of his own areas of expertise and areas of interest as well. Then he, in my opinion, is ready to decide whether his preparation is suitable for the exams or how much time he would take to appear for that exam. So that is the first criteria in order to determine whether he is ready for the preparation or not.
So, thank you for that. You obviously have been teaching competitive English English for competitive examination. You've also been mentoring a lot of students. So, in your experience, which spans well over a decade, how much time does an average student require preparing? I understand कि हर student की हर aspirant की जो ability to grasp different skill set है, different जो knowledge है वो vary करती है. But on an average अगर देखा जाए तो how much time does the preparation for these exams require?
First of all, only the average students they take the CSS exams, because those extraordinary ones have become doctors, engineers, and in the present era, about brain drain, they have left the country. So one thing is for sure, only average or even I would say that below average students, they would take the CS exams. Uh, on the lighter note, Bharal, CSS exams are focused only for those students whose level is that of graduation or equivalent to graduation, 14 years of studies. And the papers are designed according to that parameter, because they are not expecting the PhDs or the students with the high-tech knowledge on their subject. They just expect the optimum level when it comes to knowledge. It is not the maximum one.
Okay.
So every student, any student can take that exam, and whatever qualification he has, if he has done his 14 years of graduation or if he has done his 4 years bachelor's degree, he's eligible to appear for these exams. When it comes to preparation, again, FPSC knows very well. he is testing those students who have got their graduation degree or who can express themselves in simple and academic way, whether they belong to the rural areas of Pakistan or the urban areas of Pakistan. So they always design the syllabus and course and the examination papers according to the mental level and aptitude of the student.
Right.
So includes the students from every corner of Pakistan. And of course, those students who are studying abroad, they're also included in it. So this is an exam that is suitable for every student from any educational background, whether he is the high-tech student, whether he is a professional, is a doctor, engineer, or belonging to some other area of expertise, like if he's having a PhD. It is even suitable for those students who have got a basic degree when it comes to graduation, whether he's a private candidate or a regular candidate, whether he has qualified or completed his degree from his local college or a prestigious university. This examination is suitable for all candidates, and it gives a level playing field to every Pakistani citizen.
Yeah. Sir, just circling back to that, because it's the preparation for this exam requires us, several months. साल भी लग जाते हैं, महीने भी इसमें चाहिए होते हैं. And so before a student decides कि मैंने CSS का exam देना है, that I am going to go on this path, what is the mindset that is required for a civil service aspirant?
Okay, yes, this is a very good question. What is the mindset? Basically, the first thing regarding the civil services is inspiration. Obviously, now we are living in an area where information is present everywhere. It is on the palm of your hand. So you come across, even if you don't intend to, many aspirants who have achieved remarkable success in their CSS journeys. You will come across the youngsters who are in serving in police and in DMG, formerly known as DMG, now PAS,
Yeah.
or in other areas. And definitely, you often find those ones who had been your colleagues or the class fellows. So definitely, the first thing is inspiration.
Yeah.
After inspiration comes your own motivation. If you're motivated enough, और आप कोर्स देके घबरा नहीं जाते हैं, and if you believe in yourself, and if there is a mentor and there is any other aspirant who guarantees you that you can prepare it just like himself, then definitely you are on the track. Unfortunately, hota ye hai कि in our society, most of the people tend to criticize. And the recent trend that is going on the social media after the elections, you know very well.
Yeah.
And before it, it was generally criticizing the bureaucracy. It was generally criticizing the newly appointed or the formerly bureaucrats
Mm.
or the people serving in the civil services. Our society, based on criticism, is the biggest demotivating factor. And in our journal discussions in the drawing room, we start with the falling state of Pakistan, to its fallen economy and the depressing
Yeah.
youth. And finally,
Yeah.
we come up with some kind of suggestion of an exodus from this country, looking
Yeah.
abroad for some better opportunities. These are the normal everyday discussion in our drawing room.
Yeah.
But nobody suggests you, even the elders, even the tutors, even the
Yeah.
mentors, that this country needs you. Because I believe this is a legal forum. This represents a legal struggle to secure a legal job in Pakistan on merits. We have the examples of only singers and
Yeah.
actors. We present them as our role model.
Yeah.
We have few examples of those people whom you can present as the role models belonging to the educated community.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these aspirants and these people who are selected on the basis of merits,
Yeah.
they should be presented as role models by our media, by our culture, instead of those role models who have
Yeah.
indulged in other violent activities or other kind of adventures or misadventures. So I would
Yeah.
say that it is our surrounding. We must play a positive role, and tutors and parents must encourage their children, and definitely the youngsters as well, to enter into this competition, because this is the way to demonstrate your knowledge and skills
Absolutely.
and earn prestige and respect through competition. So मैं
Just
तो इस पे यही कहूंगा, अब
yeah.
हमारे पास अच्छी मिसालें नहीं है इस तरह प्रेजेंट करने के लिए.
I think just to add to your point about people criticizing that, there is this criticism that all of the state infrastructure, is, is decadent, all of that. I remember I was reading a book, Pakistan, a Hard Country, which incidentally happens to be a book that is often recommended to CSS aspirants, and in which the author says that, this This idea is wrong because if the vast number of bureaucrats serving in Pakistan, if they are not honest to God, hardworking individuals, then the system would come to a halt. And his argument was, yes, there is that kind of individuals which we hear about, but there the vast majority of bureaucrats who are serving, they are those people who genuinely want to serve their country, who are genuinely doing honest to God hard work for their country. So just a slight caveat on that. You've talked about the mindset. You've talked about how should one bring themselves in the right frame of mind to prepare for these exams. One of the things that I was reading on the examiner report for the latest examiner report that is available is that only about 3% of the applicants tend to clear these exams. And a lot of them sort of stumble upon the English essay and Precis aspect of this exam. Why is it so difficult for us Pakistanis to clear this exam, and what can be done to sort of increase that percentage of successful applicants?
Okay, I would refer to the letter written by Federal Public Service Commission. I read that news in newspapers, and FPSC, I believe they wrote a letter to the universities, to Higher Education Commission, regarding the quality of education at their universities.
Yeah.
Now, what really happens during our times? There were no mobile applications, there were no gadgets connected to information technology. So at that time, the only entertainment was a book,
Mm.
and there was a newspaper.
Mm.
And the last option was PTV, right? So except them, we had no entertainment. So we
Yeah.
were forced to feed, or rather, we found our pleasure only in these three areas. So during our times, we were focused on reading materials. So we used to read newspapers, and we would often go to the libraries
Mm.
and explore any reading material that could help us in our studies.
Right.
However, I would say in the last 10 years, so the students are more exposed to social media, they're more exposed to technology, and now the social sciences or humanities subjects, they are seldom taught with conviction anywhere in any university, although they are the part of the compulsory subjects,
Yeah.
but their aims are different. Their aims are only to achieve a few grades, and students mostly they hope for that if they achieve A grades, then they would be able to secure some scholarships abroad.
Right.
So the areas of studying humanity has shrunk over the
Mm.
period of time. Now students are having their science degrees either in computer sciences, engineering, or other fields. So definitely now they are not exposed to quality literature or quality books. They start reading those books when they enter into that competition and start preparing for CSS. Then their tutors tell them, as you have already mentioned, that Pakistan is a hard country by Anatol Levon, and the other by Ishrat Hussain, and the other by this one and that one. So all those books. So these books are his first exposure regarding the CSS preparation, which he might have finished reading 4 years ago or during his bachelor's degrees. It is for this reason, if you could analyze that those students who have their background in law, in social sciences, or in political science from the prestigious universities, they tend to be the toppers of this exam because they've already prepared all those subjects during their course of degree. However, the majority, when they start preparing, it is their mostly the first experience. It is their first exposure. So definitely their reading skills are not refined. And reading, my teacher used to say that if you're not a good reader, you cannot be a good writer. And if you're not a good listener, you're not a good speaker. So all these skills are combined together. So CSS exams is definitely the exams of all your skills. You have to read to understand the text, then you have to write to convince the examiner or the reader. So this art, most of the student start to learn at the very later stage of their academic career. So this is so unfortunate that after the advent of HEC Higher Education Commission, more focused was laid upon the scientific education. So humanities and social sciences were undermined. So I would say that students must pay attention on their life skills, which includes critical thinking, which includes critical reading, which includes problem solving skills. But we relate them only to scientific education, not to literature and the other discourses. So this is the reason why only 3% of the students succeed. Otherwise, we are the same Pakistani generation, and today you have access to information technology. and modern literature, up-to-date course books and materials and videos. During our times, these facilities were not there. So despite having these facilities of learning from every kind of activity, even then the students are scoring less. Those students who have paid attention, who have read carefully, and who have prepared their material, they not only qualify the CSS exams, but they also qualify the PMS exams. I can give you many examples, and you already know that students and aspirants know that this student who passed PMS last year, he has also cleared CSS this year, because the parameters and the standards of testing are same. If you're writing something correctly in one exam, obviously you will write it correctly in the other exams as well. So our tragedy is we have paid less focus and less attention on reading. And if you go out in the market, you will find more shoe stores instead of libraries. Friends, so
Yeah.
what to speak of the reading culture? So I always narrate my experience when that was my first training abroad. I went there to complete my 1 year teaching course. So my friend Hasnan Qayyum, he was
Mm.
doing his PhD in sociology since his area of interest was the people. So he asked me a question, okay, Mr. Ali, tell me you're traveling on the tube and tell me how can you identify a Pakistani from a native Pakistani from a foreigner or the expat Pakistani. And my answer was that it is very difficult. And he gave me a clue. He told me that a person who is reading a book is definitely born and bred in England.
Yeah.
And a person like is only looking at the passengers, he's definitely a Pakistani because reading is not our habit.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
what we can say with the closures of the libraries. So they are the
Unfortunately.
best place to enjoy isolation. Otherwise,
Yeah.
reading culture we haven't developed.
Yeah, that is true. You touched upon two, three very key points that students need to develop, and not just students. Like these are general life skills that are required in all walks of life. One is critical thinking. The other is a strong reading habit, and not like reading a novel, reading an active academic reading. And there's a difference in that. I would want you to, expand on that a little bit as well. But before that, I want you to sort of expand on this idea of the Prezi part of the exams and then the essay part of the exams. Like, what are the different skill sets that are required to clear this up? Because this is where a lot of students in Pakistan find a lot more, find this part to be a little more, bit more tricky as compared to the other aspects of the exams.
Okay, so these are the two English papers in the compulsory subjects. So the first one is English essay and the second one is English Prezi. So English Prezi is the paper where I always say that it is the paper of testing your reading skills. Because in Prezi, definitely you are given one paragraph, you read it, understand it, then you reproduce it in 1/3 of its length,
Yeah.
which technically you do a summary. Similarly, reading comprehension, that is also a passage, and there are 4 or 5 questions that are asked relevant to that passage. Again, you understand that passage, you read it, and then you are able to answer the questions. In the same way, there is a passage of translation as well. Translation, अगर उर्दू समझ आएगी तो तभी उसे ट्रांसलेट कर सकूंगा मैं. सो उर्दू 2021 में उसने जो इस तरह के वर्ड्स इस्तेमाल कर दिए थे जिनको पहले उर्दू में ही समझना मुश्किल है. So definitely, how can I translate it into English? For example, in Precise composition course, we teach punctuation, and most of the punctuation marks we do not even know their Urdu. So
Yeah.
अगर वो इसकी उर्दू में translation आपको दे दे कि English language and Urdu language have different sentence structure as well as different punctuation. उर्दू में अगर वो ये translation आपको दे दे, उर्दू और अंग्रेजी जुबान में मुख्तलिफ रमूज़ औकाफ इस्तेमाल होते हैं, तो मुझे उर्दू ही अगर समझ नहीं आएगी तो मैं translate कैसे करूँगा?
बिल्कुल सही
So
बात.
in they call that dash makta, they call that inverted commas, wawen, they call that a sign of exclamation istifamia. So
Yeah.
again, it is the test of my reading skills. Our tragedy is that we don't even know our own
That
language.
is very true. That is very
So
true.
that pressy
Yeah.
paper is the test of your reading skills. If you
Yeah.
can read it and you can understand it, only then you can give the answer. On the other hand, in essay paper, this is the paper of your writing skills,
Mm.
where you have got only one topic and only one chance,
Mm.
and you have to express your knowledge. And when it comes to knowledge, then definitely language is also included in it. Because your answer is always assessed on 2 levels. The first one is the content, and
Mm.
the second one is the language. So if I were to ask you a question, when was Pakistan founded, and you answer it in this way that Pakistan was founded on 1947, Your
Mm.
content is correct, but you have used one wrong proposition. So that preposition must be in instead
Yeah.
of on. Pakistan was
Yeah.
founded in 1947, so you will not end up earning good marks.
Yeah.
So essay paper is the paper of testing your writing skills.
Mm.
So in which definitely your content, your grammar, your expression, and the structure of the essay plays a significant part. So both papers, they test the overall language skills of the students. And you might have encountered many cases where the student has passed his Prezi paper but failed
Yeah.
the essay paper. And there are many cases like last year where the students have passed their essay paper but they surprisingly failed the Prezi paper by
Yeah.
1 or 2 marks. Since this is the testing of the language, and in language, definitely reading, writing,
Yeah.
both are included. And in the interview, definitely listening and speaking plays their part.
And like,
So
uh,
differentiate that paper in these two parameters.
yeah, and there is also an interesting it's almost like the skills that are required for Prezi and the skills that are required for the essay in terms of the writing ability tend to go a little bit opposite as well, right? Because in Prezi you have to condense the content. In essay you have to sort of expand upon it. So like if there is a student who's setting out to prepare this exam, these exams, so how do you recommend students that they develop these different skill sets? Should they go about them at the same time or should they prepare them one at a time? What do you recommend in this regard?
Okay, normally what happens that when a student visits her for preparation, then immediately he's exposed to all the courses at the same time. So if he's preparing for himself, then first of all, he must start it with reading the newspaper,
Okay.
because that newspaper reading would assist him when it comes to current affairs, Pakistan affairs, news, whatever is going on around the world. So that would be his first exposure to the information that is presented in the text. This would not only improve his general knowledge, but also he would unconsciously develop the language skills. Although journalistic English, it is not recommended. Obviously, it is not the role model.
Yeah.
Academic English is definitely different, but that would serve as the first stepping stone towards learning and preparation of the CSS exams.
Right.
I recommend the students to start with letters to the editors,
Okay.
because those letters to the editors are written by common man.
Okay.
And in CSS examination, obviously the approach of a common man is preferred. If you
Right.
start reading the columns, those are the professional columnists.
Mm.
And the columns are not written for lay audience. They are, most of them are written for high-tech audience. So there are
Right.
jargons, and they also write so many things where you have to read between the lines.
Yeah.
So these things definitely confuses the aspirant uh, belonging from any educational level.
Yeah.
So I always recommend them to start with letters to the editors, because that would be his first exposure, that being a common man, how can he communicate his ideas in simple language to the journal audience.
Yeah.
So in press writing, definitely letters to the editors, they serve a very good purpose, because you can even write a full length essay or even an article of 500 words on the same issue. And it is very likely that the topic that has been discussed in the letters to the editors must have been discussed somewhere by some other columnist
Yeah.
in 1,000 words.
Yeah.
So, say Prezi and essay may align itself, they may go hand in hand,
Mm.
but I would recommend them to start with the letters to the editors, because this is where they know the art of condensed writing. This is
All
where
right.
they know the art of how to express their ideas in few possible words, because in the letters to the editors, they include 6 or 7 letters around
Mm.
every corner of the country from every kind of person in his area of interest or regarding any problem. So I
Yeah.
would recommend them to start with the letters to the editors. That would be the first stepping stone to prepare Prezi, and then they would move on towards the other detailed text and material that would be helpful for them in essay writing.
Right. That is actually really interesting. And this is also new for me as well, focusing on letters to the editor part, but it makes a lot of logical sense that, you can write like very summarized, condensed, that's what you can learn from it and which will help them in the pressy part of the exam. That is very true. I want to sort of bring the discussion now to the aspect of the time that is required to prepare for that. And I know this question comes with this idea that, there's so many different students, they have different abilities to grasp new information, to develop new skill set. But what is like a recommended time that you would need before the exam so that you can prepare for them?
Okay, normally for any student, I would say that recommended time would be 6 months before exam. Even if you are a brilliant student, I would
Yeah.
also recommend him to prepare 6 months before exam.
Okay.
Otherwise, a year would be better.
Okay.
So it depends upon the learning ability of every student as well, because in teaching course we are told that there is a term that is called as comprehensive input. I'm
Mhm.
teaching you or I'm speaking to you and you are understanding it, and there comes a time when you fail to understand everything because everything is passing over your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every person has definitely a different level of understanding and different level of preparation. There is a possibility that he is a very good reader, but when it comes to writing, he might not perform according to that level. So definitely he has to spend more time on writing,
Yeah.
because this is the paper where writing is involved after reading. Sometimes a person is good at speaking, but he's not good at reading. He makes so many mistakes. He misunderstands the text because in the age of that digital era, your exposure is to the informal use of language, and definitely the contractions and the emojis that we use. So he would be suffering somewhere there. So academic language is a little different. So I would advise the students to start preparation 6 months before or a year before the exams.
Right.
And I would advise them not only to read the newspapers, but also some other magazine that could help them regarding the material of the CSS exams. So one such magazine that I would recommend, that is the Paradigm Shift, a very good magazine. You might have read that. I would recommend you as well. So in that
Mhm.
magazines, there are different
I've actually been
contributions of the
published in that
students.
as well. I've actually been published in that.
Okay, okay, yes, good to know. Good to know. I never heard of you before. Okay,
I only I
so yes,
write very little, so yeah.
okay, okay, right, right. I really encourage that, and I encourage the other students as well to write and contribute
Yeah.
your part in the publishing areas. So, if you get that kind of magazines in the first stage, that would be very easy for you to prepare for the other topics of the exams, because most of the contributions to that magazine are from the students belonging to different areas of interest, different disciplines, different fields, and they express their writing specific to that exams. And obviously they do not digress from the main topic, and the relevant information is already given over there. Otherwise, if you start your preparation depending upon newspapers and the different guides or books or magazines available in the market, they're not specifically written for competitive exams.
Yeah. Yeah.
So students would be wandering from one shop to another, and everyone would be selling his own ice cream to
Yeah.
him, and at the end it wouldn't fulfill his requirement.
Yeah.
So go for one resource, go for one teacher, and then follow it with full adherence spirit.
Yeah.
So that would be one way to prepare within time. Otherwise, if you start finishing or reading every book, even a year would be
Yeah.
little, and standing on the same place
Yeah.
where you started.
And
So
so
get only one magazine
yeah.
and one book.
So there's also one query that a lot of aspirants would have is, given the state of Pakistan's economy at the moment, it's very difficult for a lot of people to sort of just focus on the exams because a lot of people are holding down jobs. They have to look after their families. They have to look after their financial situation. And while it is recommended that when you're preparing for the CS exams, you have to go all into it and, create time for it. You have to plan your entire life around it. But let's say there is an individual who aspires to become a civil servant, who has the basic ingredients, but because of their financial situation, they are forced to go out there and work, and so they can not allocate as much time to the preparation as an other student would who's not holding down a job. So, what would you recommend to those students? Is it possible to clear civil service exams while you are doing a job? And in that case, how much more time would that student require?
Okay, for a student who is struggling with his finances, I tell you one thing. If CSS or competitive exams, any competitive exams, if this is his passion, then no barrier would be there to stop him achieving his dream.
Yeah.
So there is a famous saying that stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage.
Hmm.
So these are, I would say, that excuses or pretexts where he's struggling with finances and not able to spare time for studies. There are so many cases where the students were struggling financially, but even then they achieved gold medals in their high schools. And even then, they scored extraordinary success
Yeah.
at college and university levels. They even secured foreign scholarships.
Yeah.
So when it comes to passion, these things do not matter.
What I was referring to is like if they're holding down a job, then from a practical aspect of it, how much time, extensive time would they then require to prepare for these exams, assuming that they're in a situation where they cannot give up their job due to their financial position?
Okay, Jeet, when it comes to a job, then again, I would say that 6 to 8 months would be sufficient. Would be sufficient.
Yeah.
And I would again add that he must choose those subjects which are based on his degree. For example, if he has done his degree in engineering, then most of the engineers, like
Right.
one of our toppers, he was an engineer, he opted for physics. And normally, it is not suggested and recommended that the students would result in scoring low in that subject, but he went for that one and he was doing his job. And there are so many other cases. So if you're doing your job, then you must focus on your area of expertise. If you're a science graduate, then definitely you're going for those subjects which are based on your degree, physics, chemistry, or the biology or zoology, and the other subjects as well. If you are an environmentalist, then environmental sciences is there, and other relevant subjects are there, geology, geography. So if you're doing your job, then the best way is to prepare your own subject from your own field, because CSS exams gives, again, I would say a very controversial word, level playing field to the students coming from all educational backgrounds. So it is just a presumption that in the social sciences subjects you would score high and in the science subjects you would score low. No, this is not the case. FPSC decides on the basis of merits. If that was the case, those students who have qualified, they wouldn't have scored higher if they had not opted for physics or chemistry or other subjects, whether in PMS Punjab or CSS. So if you're doing a job, then you must focus on your subjects which you opted or in which you did your masters. That would be an extra advantage and leverage when it comes to preparing the new subjects. So for those students who
Right.
are doing the jobs, I would recommend them to go for the optional subjects that were based on their degrees.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So one last thing, as we know that the 2024 attempt is just around the corner. There are a lot of students who are preparing for to sit these exams, and there's also an interesting study that came across where a lot of people who register for the written exams don't actually end up taking the exam. There's they're jittery, they're cold feet, or whatever that is. So if you could just offer some words of advice, how can they sort of get over that fear, and how can they just fine tune their strategies just before these exams?
Okay, I would say that this is the exam and this is the opportunity that life gives you. And trials and exams, this is what life always offers you at every space, at every age. When it comes to life, I would say that in my experience, life is not black or white, it is gray. I've often seen that, even I talk about myself, that I have excelled in those subjects which I prepared the least, and I got flunked in those subjects which I prepared the most. So there is no guarantee that if you're thinking that you are just quitting at 11th hour regarding appearing in your exams, then it would be beneficial next year. Next year there would be a different trial. There would be different kinds of questions, and your preparation might go waste. So I would never recommend them to quit at the 11th hour, because with the best preparation, you can never guarantee that you would score high. And with the average preparation, again, you can never guarantee that you would score low, because this is what life offers you. You have got only chances. So CSS exams gives you three chances. So sometimes you appear with the cold feet or half-hearted, but you end up scoring very good, because at that time you don't have your pressure on your mind. You don't have any kind of fear of criticism, or you don't even fear regarding your own conscience. You already know that this is the best I could do. So I'm not taking it seriously. And out of that freedom of mind, you perform. You might perform far better when you take it so much seriously and consciously. So I advise students never to quit, because you never know what to expect in the exams. So always take your exam. And once you enter into this competition, you must take the exams, because I've often seen those people who have prepared less but scored high. And I've often seen those people who have prepared very well, but they end up scoring low. So life is unpredictable, just like exams.
Yeah.
CSS exams are also unpredictable, just as life itself. So go on, gentlemen, and
And
prepare
ladies.
well and appear for the exams, because this is the only option you are left with.
Yeah.
So I wish all of them very best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I hope our audience will take a lot of lessons from it. And we will leave the links for your Facebook page and your contact details below if somebody wants to reach out to Professor Ali for personal guidance. And I hope the students who are thinking about becoming civil servant officers, this will give them a way to motivate themselves, and this will act as an inspiration. And for those students who are now going to be sitting in the exams in 2024, I wish you all a very best of luck. I hope this interview helps you prepare, helps you fine tune your strategies, and I hope you all the best for these exams. Thank you once again, sir, for sparing time from your busy schedule. This has been
Thank you very much.
extremely enlightening for me. I'm sure it has been for our audiences as well. And thank you so much, and take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the privilege. Thank you.